Components of a vector and unit vectors. اوكي، في الدرس هنا هنشرح تحليل المتجهات او مركبات المتجه. طيب، a component of a vector, it is a way or a method of adding vectors that makes use of the projections of vectors along the coordinate axes. اوكي، دي طريقة لجمع المتجهات ماشي في خلال two directions او في خلال او على محورين اللي هما ال x and y. In the opposite direction you can see a direction which represents the vector A and has an angle with x-axis. يبقى احنا عندنا متجه A وده بيعمل زاوية أو بيصنع زاوية سيتا مع المحور X. فعشان كده عندي two components AX and AY. يبقى أنا components of vector are two components. Okay, in X direction or on X axis and in Y direction or in Y axis. On Y axis. Okay, so how to find the components of vector? ازاي تقدر تحسبها؟ You can find the components of vectors by using the angle theta. ازاي؟ The angle theta you can find cosine theta and the sine theta. So you can find cosine theta equals AX divided by the hypotenuse or the vector A. By the way, sine theta it equals the front side, okay, which is AY divided by the hypotenuse or the vector which is A. So sine theta equals AY divided by A. طيب أنا كده جبت الساين and the cosine. To find AX and AY, it is mathematical relation. AX it will be A multiply cosine theta. AY equals A multiply sine theta. Okay, so to find A magnitude ممكن أعطيك AX and AY أقول لك AX 3 AY 4. Find A and find its angle. Okay, A it will be equal square root of AX square plus AY square as we have find it before. Okay, so the angle theta, okay, it is the angle of direction of the vector. Okay, it will be equal tan power negative 1 of AY divided by AX. Okay, يعني هتبقى tan power negative 1 ل 4 divided by 3. Okay, you can find it easily by using your calculator. This is the components of vector. Okay, any component of vector has a value in x direction which is set at AX in the direction I and a value in y direction with we can say at AYJ. So A equals AXI plus AYJ. Okay. Also, if I have another vector R, it has x direction in the x value in the direction I and y value in the direction J. يبقى أنت عندك اتجاهين I و J instead of x and y with a value which was x and y value. It is a value or magnitude only. So let's see this example to understand how to make addition of two vectors. Find the sum of two vectors A and B lying in the xy plane and is given by their value equal A equal 2 in I, يبقى 2I plus 2J, while B equal 2I minus 4J. So J in the negative direction. So R, it is the equivalent value of their summation equal A plus B. So A plus B, so 2I plus 2I. It is the هنحسب القيمة بتاعت الاي في الاثنين نجمعهم مع بعض والقيمة للجي في الاثنين ونجمعهم مع بعض. يبقى أنا عندي في الأول R equal 2I plus 2J plus 2i minus 4g. So the total it will be r equal 4i minus 2g. So rx it will be 4 and ry it will be negative 2. Okay, now you find the x and y components to find the direction of the r vector.
Let's see an example for taking a hike. A hiker begins a trip by first walking 25 kilometers southeast from his car. He stops and sets up his tent for the night, and in the second day he walks 40 kilometers in a direction of 60 degrees north of east, at which point he discovered a forest ranger's tower. The first requirement to determine the components of the hiker's displacement for each day. First of all, we should think about the 2 days as different two vectors. The first vector is 25 in the direction of southeast, but we don't know the angle of this vector, so it is decided to be 45, as it is the middle of the 90 angle, as between east and south it is 90 degree, so the middle of this angle is 45. The second vector will denote it as the vector P, and the first vector will denote as vector A. The second vector will be 40 in the direction of northeast. So if we consider that the car begins at the origin of the coordinates and drawing R as the resultant between the two vectors, so we can categorize this problem as addition of two vectors. The first vector in the first day, which denotes as A, and the second vector which denotes as B. Let's draw these two vectors. The drawing of the two vectors will be like that. So the origin is the car. The car starts at the origin of the coordinates. ثم انتقلت السيارة إلى النقطة الأولى عند نهاية اليوم الأول الذي أقام فيه الخيمة وجلس بها وأقام ليلته هناك. فبذلك اليوم الأول أو محصلة المتجه في اليوم الأول هي المتجه A، والمتجه A طوله 25 ويميل بزاوية 45 درجة. Then it goes to east north to the tower, where he found the tower in the second day. The tower has an angle with the east which is 60. So the second vector will be the vector B, which drawing as like that. The resultant vector, which is the summation of the two vectors in the 2 days, which is A vector and B vector, will result to the resultant vector, which is R. Let's start to get the components of the first vector and analyzing it as required. هنقوم بتحليل الفيكتور كما طلب مننا. الفيكتور الأول هو الفيكتور A الذي سنقوم بتحليله. هو has a magnitude of 25 and directed 45 blue with the positive axis X. So it will be analyzed in the positive axis of X and in the negative axis of Y, as shown in the figure. When analyzing this vector A, its component will be A in the direction of X, A cosine negative 45, which considered as 25 kilometers multiplied by 0.707, which is cosine negative 45. That results in 17.7. AY, which is the component of A vector in the Y direction, will result from A sine negative 45, which is 25 multiplied by negative 0.707, which result in negative 17.7 kilometers. This is the comment in this part. The negative value of AY indicates that the hiker walks in the negative direction of Y. The signs of AX and AY is evident from the figure below, as we see the direction of A in the X positive and the Y negative. Let's do the same thing with the second displacement B, which has a magnitude of 40 kilometers and angle 60 north of east. Let's analyze that. It is obvious that it is in positive X and positive Y coordinates, as the direction of B from tent to the tower, so it is directed to positive X and positive Y. Its component will be decided or be analyzed as the same method. Bx will be b cosine 60, which result 40 multiplied by half, which results 20 kilometers, and by will be b sine 60, which is result in 40 multiplied by 0.866, which is result in 34.6 kilometers. By that we finished the first requirement. Let's see the second requirement. المطلوب الثاني يطلب المحصلة, the resultant displacement of the total trip, the trip of the first day and the trip of the second day, which is obvious that it is the summation of the two trips, A vector plus B vector. But take care, we should add the vector in the x direction with the vector in the x direction, the vector of the component of ax with the component of bx, and the component of ay plus the component of by, and take care about the sign, the negative sign in the ay, as it results in the negative y-axis. The resultant will easily calculated by adding the vector a plus the vector b. This can be done by adding the components of x direction together. This result in Rx will be equal to Ax plus Bx, which is result in 17.7 plus 20, which is result in 37.7 kilometers. The second component, which is in the y direction, and take care about the negative sign, is Ry equals Ay plus By, which is result in negative 17.7 kilometers plus 34.6 kilometers, which is result in 16.9 kilometers. By rearranging these two components Rx and Ry, we can write it in the unit vector form في صورة متجه الوحدة. We can write the total displacement المتجه الكلي ل R will be in the form of 37.7 in the direction of I plus 16.9 in the direction of J, and all of the unit kilometers. Then to find the magnitude and the angle of the vector R, we can use the rules and the equations of root ax square plus ay square, and another rule for the theta or the angle, which is equal tan inverse ry over rx. This result in the magnitude of 41.3 kilometers and the angle of 24.1 degree north of east. يمكن الحصول على كل هذه المقادير والزوايا بالرسم البياني لهذه المتجهات بالمسطرة والمنقلة. في النهاية من الأفضل أن نسأل أنفسنا هل هذه الإجابة منطقية أم لا. If we ask ourselves if the resultant is reasonable for the total displacement or not, so we can see that the resultant in the first quadrant of the coordination system, and this is reasonable. So it is directed in the positive axes x and y, which is also consistent with the figure.